You're listening to the British Baseball Podcast. Hello, baseball family. Matthew here with another episode of the British Baseball Podcast. And joining me today live for whenever I was recording this is Mr. Vince Warner. Vince, how are we?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much for agreeing to come on and share some stories with us. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are very eager to hear what you have to say. Why don't you tell us a bit about your home life and family life and unfortunately how you discovered and came across baseball?
Well, basically, I was born into baseball. So my dad was playing before I was born. And it was one of those things, all the kids got taken to baseball and the family. It was a very family orientated sort of game. It's changed over a lot over the years. All the wives used to be there. There was scoring and all this, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, I've got pictures of me when I was 1 year old in a baseball uniform, and you know, look back on that and think, well, I think I was destined to play.
That's really cool. So which club was it then that your dad started off at?
Well, my dad started playing for Esso, and there was quite a few teams around in the Thurrock area, because obviously Esso was an American club. Then he moved to Thames Board Mills. Now, Thames Board Mills was actually owned by an American company, and they started up in this really lovely ground. He stayed there for, well, till we got kicked out, basically. Unfortunately, Thames Board Mills was taken over by Fire Brigade, and they deemed that baseball, albeit it had been there for like 20 years or whatever it was not their sport. They were interested in rugby, cricket, football, and it didn't pay enough money. Took up too much room on the ground as well.
What a shame.
Yeah, it is. I passed the ground not that long ago because go to wildlife place at Raynham, and it just looks like a chippy site. It's literally full of horses, and the grass is just waist high. And it's such a shame to see such a lovely complex, and the building was good, just gone into disrepair.
Yeah, it is funny. Like I was trying to do a piece based on the Amateur World Cup, and I was in Hull for a game, and I thought I'll do some footage around where the old ground was where they played, and that's now a supermarket. And I find it really eerie in a way where you can sort of walk across this car park, nearly get hit by a Mazda, and that was where the pitching mound was, type of thing. It's just very, very strange when you see something that like of historical importance to a sport that not a lot of people even know about. And it's like, do you even know where you are or what you stood on, sort of thing? Yeah, it's very curious. So how old were you then? You said you were one. Which team was it that your dad played for when you were 1 year old?
That was Thames Board Mills.
That was Thames Sport. What are your earliest memories around that sort of, well, your earliest memories of baseball, really?
I think for me was probably when I rebelled. I didn't really take too much notice of baseball, although I was going there and involved in it. But about 11, I decided I didn't want to play. Dad was taking me and forcing me to go. And that kind of set the seed of like, well, I don't like baseball. And then got to 13 and I thought, do you know what? I've been throwing, I've been practicing. I just want to play now. Never look back, basically.
How weird was it then, like knowing that your dad was national team manager and his history? Did you ever feel like you had to play baseball, or did you want to play? I know you said you rebelled then, but
yeah, I think that was the reason. I think because my dad was quite a strong, forceful man. Basically, he didn't take no for an answer. Didn't like things that didn't go his way. So for him, that was forcing me to play effectively. That's why, you know, as a kid, not knowing, I just didn't want to. And you watch baseball and you go, it's a great sport. You know, you can't turn it down. So I just wanted to play after that, and I loved it. Literally, as soon as I got out in the field, the first game, the thrill of it was just amazing. Started off in the outfield, but it wasn't long before people realised that I had an arm. So I kind of started to pitch a little bit, and then after that I caught, which was my favourite position, which I've always loved.
What did your mates at school think then of you playing baseball? Was it like my son started training with Manchester, and he also has one of these lovely Essex Redbacks tops that were politely provided to us by Phil Carris. He sent me in the little boy one, and he trains in that, and they love it because he thinks he's Spider-Man. The school that he goes to is very football orientated. I think a lot of schools are the same. Some of the sports don't get a look in. Did you encounter that sort of thing as well? Did people sort of think it was odd that you played baseball, or?
No, not really. It's a difficult one because at school, I kind of kept baseball separate. When I was at school, I was quite high up in hockey. I loved hockey.
Yeah.
And it was also because it was a winter sport. So obviously I could play hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer. And the sport was taken over in school was hockey. Didn't really speak much about baseball. And I also did javelin as well. And I played hockey till I was 19. Unfortunately, work got in the way of hockey because of the leagues. I used to work every Saturday, and adult was every Saturday. So yeah, I had to give it up.
What a shame. I love hockey. It's one of my favourite things to watch. I love it when it comes around on the Olympics as well.
Well, I was left back. So basically, I used to take 16-yard hit. And as soon as I hit the ball, people just never got near it. They just went like, okay, we'll stay up the halfway line when you're going to hit this. So it's quite good. The baseball came in very, very handy.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I feel like I could do an entire different podcast for you talking about hockey, but let's give the people what they want and talk about baseball. So you started playing back in 1974. What was the baseball scene in Britain like back then?
It was pretty good, actually. There was a lot of good standard ball about. You had US Navy and stuff were around. The Thames Board Mills team had quite an American influence because we used to get players down from Alconbury and Lakenheath. It had a good mix of English and American, which was quite nice. And their standard was pretty good. So it kind of helped with the English guys. Obviously, starting at 13, there was no youth baseball ever. So basically, it was all the sons of the fathers that played. And my dad being my dad, he didn't put me in just because it was dad. I had to earn a position. So it was quite a tough ask, but obviously I've got reasonable skills, and that's how it ended up. So
that's interesting, that, because I know there's been a lot said about youth baseball within club environments as well. Do you think then that kids being thrown in a deep end at that age helped to shape them as players, or do you think having a youth setup is definitely the way to go?
Well, I think both, actually. I think as a young lad, you had to grow up quick. You were put in a big environment with big guys, all through really hard. So you had to literally pick it up. I think you've got to have youth. You've got to have a youth structure now. We need more youth players. That's it, basically. You've got to have youth. Otherwise, we're just going to struggle. And we're lucky with the Redbacks and Sean Briscombe, obviously. He's doing an amazing job just keeping youth coming along. We've got literally new players every week now. So hopefully it's going to keep growing.
That's fantastic. It's great to see that it's still growing. What are some of your favourite on-field and off-field memories from your time playing domestic baseball?
Oh, God, there's loads. Absolutely loads. So you're talking about highlights of what I've done.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things, really. Obviously, the first time playing for GB. So you go on, stand on the field, and the first time you hear the national anthem, it's like, Jesus, you just can't believe how that emotion hits you, representing your country and just standing there listening to the national anthem. And obviously the first game I played, which was quite interesting. So we were playing Holland, first game in the 1982. And basically we were like 14 runs down within about 3 innings. And it was just ridiculous. The guys were just hitting home run after home run. So the manager at the time went, Vince, can you go and relief pitch? Now I was due to pitch full game next day. So I was like, really? What's the point? So he said, well, we've got to try and save face effectively. So I went, right, okay. So I go out there on the mound and I'm like, I ain't gonna throw fastballs. They're just hitting everything that comes down the middle out the park. So I threw nothing but junk, and they hit every single ball, left field and centre field, and got caught. That's basically, they just constantly hit, constantly. Every ball was out in the outfield, and shut them out for 3 innings. It was happy days. But I put so much effort into that particular game that the next day I couldn't play. My arm was like pretty tired. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, to be fair.
Well, great debut, though.
Yeah, it was. And you were saying about my dad when he played, he pitched and I called.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, the end of the tournament, we'd run out of pitches. My dad had turned up later during the tournament. He couldn't make the first start, and he was there as a coaching capacity because he's getting on a bit. He's 1982. He's born in 27, so he's getting on. They put him into pitch. So I was like, right, okay, I'll catch as well. And that's how it come around, which was it's quite nice to have a father and son, in GB pitches and catches. So,
Did you used to play much together at home?
yeah, we did. I caught him quite a lot because obviously he had good control and he had good jump. He was never an overpowering catcher, but he could spot the ball in good places and just throw literally just spinning stuff, and it worked really well. So
that's good. So did you ever get the chance to catch him when you were just playing catch, or was it always you pitching?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I pitched to him effectively at practice, and we had a fairly large front garden, so we used to throw out there, try to avoid missing him and not hitting my car. Yeah, which I am a little wild, as people really know. Yeah, so that's basically it. But he was never a proper catcher or anything. So
that's good.
Yeah.
So you played for GB for 7 years. Can you tell us some of your favourite tournament memories, some notable victories or almost victories?
Yes. So 1981 was the tryout year, and we had quite a few games. That was quite an interesting. My first game, I thought I blew it because I was going home from third base, and I actually took the catcher out, proper, good and proper, 2 feet in the leg, took him out, and obviously there was a bit of uproar, but I was safe. And I thought, oh well, I've blown that, and I got chosen, so I was quite happy, really. Obviously, about 1982. It was an interesting year. Don't remember huge amounts about it because obviously I remember the first game, but the other basically parts, me and my dad, that's it. 84, that was in Hull, and that was in the cricket ground. So that was quite interesting. We all come out, we're all standing there, again, national anthem thing, and they said, oh, local BBC TV are going to be there to film you. So, okay. So they went down the line and got the big cameras and stuff. Video recorders had been invented by then. And one of my mates, Mark Clayson, who he did actually play for GB eventually, he said, I see you on TV the other day. And I'm like, oh, what? No recording, no nothing. So, and we all went out on one of the nights to a disco, Romeo and Juliet. So 2 discos in one. And as we were all walking to this club, we all had our baseball jackets on, and the amount of people that wanted to talk to us and just sort of say, oh my God, you're playing for GB locally and this, that, and that. So that was cool. And I suppose my best tournament was 86, obviously. Hit home run against France, and I think that was the only run in the game. Germany, I was the only runner to get on base, which was, well, obviously breaking up that sort of scenario, and got MVP. So because I pitched and caught on that as well, which was quite nice.
In that game against France in the 86 European Championships, you actually voted the team's MVP. So that must have been quite an honour for you.
It was definitely. I didn't expect it. We had some good players in there. And after the tournament, we were in a hotel, and the manager just got everyone together and basically said, we're just giving this trophy to Vince for MVP. I was like, wow, So yeah, the sad thing is, I never got invited back to play for GB.
Go out on a high.
Yeah, one of those things. Obviously we didn't have internet or anything like that, so whether I missed phone calls, I didn't get any letters, and I didn't think anything of it. Maybe there was a little bit about political. We had the breakaway leagues and stuff like that, so maybe upset a few people. So yeah, didn't ever play again. And later on in life, I stopped playing for about 12 years. That was it, all gone. But I had my time, I had my fun, so I'm not bitter about it.
How did you feel though at the time though, when you just stopped, when the GB stuff stopped happening? Did you think it was a personal thing?
Yeah, I did, and I just thought it was weird to be made MVP and then never get invited back, which is like, well, what's that all about? But like I say, I had other things to do anyway, and it's one of those things,
Yeah.
miscommunication maybe.
How did you feel then when you sort of knew that your time was coming to a close playing at domestic level? Was that a hard decision to make, or do you wish you'd done anything? You said you had no regrets, but do you wish that you'd maybe stayed around a bit longer, or maybe drawn line a bit early?
Yeah, I think I did. At the time, it would have been nice to have kept going for a few more years at that sort of level. But it's just one of those things, it happened. I couldn't do anything about it. I had my time playing with other teams and stuff. So I had plenty to do, to be fair. And marriage life and all that malarkey come along. So
yeah. What are some of your favourite then off-field memories around the GB setup? Now, every time I ask this question with anyone that's been involved in GB, it all tends to be, oh, well, I can't tell you this story, I can't tell you that story. But surely, from your 7 years in the programme, you must have a decent story for me off-field that we can broadcast.
Yeah, okay. I think the funniest one was when we was in Antwerp, 1982. We were told, you can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that. And we all snuck out and went to a club and come back at 2 a.m. As you do.
Who was the manager then?
Ron Marshall.
How did he take that news?
I don't think you ever found out, to be fair. There was a lot of us didn't look very well the next morning, I must admit.
So the next question is, what are your expert tips on sneaking out for a night out when you're not supposed to be? No, actually, don't answer that question. There's kids that listen. we should move on. So when we had our conversation, when we're setting up this meeting, you mentioned something about the Southern All-Star team. What is that, and what was involved, and how was that tournament? Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, Southern All-Stars was just literally a pick of 12 players, I think it was. Everybody had a sort of an input as to who they wanted to go and play, hence being the All-Stars. And I think they were basically from all different teams, literally sort of one. I think there was one team which had the two Japanese guys, Iso and Oda, great names. One of them was a sidearm pitcher, and he was like just amazing. He was lights out. I think it only was like 1 year, 1 season. And we just played different teams from around the country. It's quite good.
All right, so it wasn't like North versus that. It was just like a super team of the Southern League. And oh, cool. Yeah. So what are the players who are involved in that then? Can you give us any names?
Rick Soane, I think Marty Dewar. God, that's bringing back some memories. Yeah, might have been Don McDonald. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I can remember. There's a few, but
it sounds like a really fun thing. I'd love to see an all-star competition, or even if it's just like BBF versus BBN, and have like the Battle of Britain that they do every year, but sort of have like an all-star from Scotland, and then you could have Ireland and Wales, or just all the different leagues. I don't know how it works out, but I think an all-star team where you've got the best players from certain areas would be really good in like a round robin sort of tournament over a weekend.
Yeah, it would do,
yeah, could be good fun. You won the national championship in 1984 with the Croydon Blue Jays. Now the Blue Jays are no longer around. So what can you tell us about that team and the history behind it, and also that tournament?
Because of obviously Dad, he was friends with so many people. We basically split. Well, Thames Ball Mills had broken up, but we tried moving the actual team to Rainham, and it lasted about a year or 2 years. And then we were thinking about going to Basildon, which is where Steve Simmons and George Simmons were.
Yeah.
And I think we had a quick look over there, and then I think he was just invited to go and play for the Blue Jays. I mean, considering how far it was from where we lived in Essex, we still went to training, which was pretty cool. Obviously, Dad used to take us down there, and we used to manage to get some reps in and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the team was really good. It was just full of different nationalities, and everyone was pretty good. The final against Hull was at the Arrows ground, and it was the first year the Arrows ground had been built, ironically. Yeah, a cool whole game, and there's quite a lot of write-ups about it, and how exciting was at the very end. Johnny Harrington hitting the ball and basically getting a couple of runs in and that sort of thing. So yeah, it was very good. I've got some pictures, nice pictures of me holding the cup and sword. which God knows where that went.
Oh yeah, I've seen that sword, and I'd love to know
Yeah.
where that is. I was chatting with, I think it
Yeah.
was Matt, who does the Angels in the UK podcast and the Twitter account, and we were just chatting about this. It's like a saber, and it's huge.
It's big.
It's sword.
Yeah,
Someone's
it's
got
big.
that in the loft somewhere. They must have.
Yeah, definitely somewhere. But no, I don't know where that went, but it's quite good.
If
I mean,
anyone
obviously,
knows,
to win a national championship is, it's the ultimate, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we had some really, really good games as well.
Yeah.
So one thing that happens, which kind of personifies what my dad was like, was we were playing up north in I think it was our quarter-final, semi-final, and Johnny Harrington was at bat. I was sitting on the bench. We had a couple of catches. So Harrington was on the bench. I was on the bench, and Johnny Harrington comes up to bat. Now he pops it up to first base. So Johnny trots, literally just saunters down. Guy catches the ball. So as John turns to come back to the bench, my old man just said, "John, you're benched." And he's like, "What?" He said, "You hustle it out. You have to hustle it out." He said, "If he drops the ball, you'd be on base, wouldn't you?" So he put me in. He said, "Right, Vince, out you go to left field," because that's where Johnny was. So next inning, standing out in left field, thinking, okay, this is cool. And I get a shoestring. I'm literally running like bat out of hell towards third base, dive, catch the ball. So as we all trot back in, my old man went, "And that's why he's out there." And it's kind of taught me that you have to play hard, no matter what.
Yeah,
But
there's
yeah,
a great picture.
Dad was like that.
Yeah, there's a great picture of it on the Project Cobb website, which is why I'd be keen to get a bit more information about the game, because there's no box score for it or many details about the contest, just that you end up winning 10-9. It must have been a thrilling game though, with a comeback like that. I mean, you ended up I think you lost one game all season, but won 9, lost 1.
Yeah, right to the very end. I mean, that's what you want, isn't it? They said it's one of the best sort of finals ever.
You rode all the way through to it. You won the division, and then in the playoffs, beating the South Glade Hornets 12-1, and then that final there against the Hull Mets. Were you the underdogs, or were you favourites going into that game? Because I know that Hull was like a hotbed of baseball back then.
Yeah, they were good. Yeah, they were good. I think it was a 50-50, to be fair. We'd had games against them previously. We knew they were really good. So yeah, I don't think we were favourite.
Who's some of the players that you remember from that game? There's
Darren Ward,
Phil Lang,
Phil Lang, Norman, Don McDonald, and it would have been Kevin Sylvester.
Yeah,
he was a character, but he pitched really well, so it was quite cool. Ross Phil. Yeah, it's quite a few.
Awesome. You also played in the Masons Night League. How do you play baseball? Mattisons. Sorry.
Yeah, Mattisons.
To get something wrong.
That's all right. Well, basically, we had lots of hot dogs free. That was good. So they decided that a night league would be good for PR and stuff. So basically, it was just a few teams cobbled together again. Mattisons sponsored it, and they hired rugby grounds, football grounds, basically to play in. Put temporary nets up and just made it a showcase, really. So I played at the Wasps ground, I think it was. I can't remember any of the others. Vague. It's quite a long time ago.
Yeah.
The Wasps one, I was playing left field, and a ball was hit literally, because it was the length of the rugby field, and I caught it on the run and got a guy out from third base going home, and like there was about 2,000 people there, and there was obviously lots of shouts and screams like, what an amazing throw. And I don't even remember throwing it. It's one of those perfect throws, like a home run. You can't field a home run, you just hit it and it's gone. Just literally launched it, prayed, ball went out up above the lights, sort of thing, back down again, and got him perfectly. So yeah.
Wow, 2,000 people. What year was that? What era was it?
Honestly, again, I can't remember dates like that. I'm not Steve Simmons. He remembers every pitch.
Yeah, I'll have to tap into him again. With all these different stadiums that you played in across the country, which have been some of your favourite grounds to play?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think Thames Ball Mills always has a place in my heart because the ground itself was so good. The groundsman, everything was perfect. Grass was always cut nice, had a decent mound that never seemed to have any work done to it. Farnham, obviously, I've played there once now. It's pretty good. Rose Hill with Croydon, very up and down, but it had a unique feel to it. So yeah, there's a few. Oh, Chelsea Football Ground.
You played at Chelsea?
Yes, that was against the United States Navy. I played one inning.
I did.
Well, and there were 6,000 people there. So that was like quite cool. But I sat on the bench for ages and I got an inning and I wasn't best pleased about that. So that wasn't, that again was just a showcase thing. So
yeah. So what was it then that do you think attracted so many people to watch back then? Like you're getting crowds of 6,000, 2,000.
Yeah, it was centre of London and that was advertised well as well. So it was cheap to get in, I think. It was very, very good to see that amount of people there. Wish we could get more of it.
Yeah.
But I think obviously like with the advent of the MLB coming over, you're getting more and more people interested in baseball now and finding out that there's baseball. But I think if you had some kind of big showcasing, because United States Navy, some good players, obviously. They had a pool of Americans that could play baseball really well against GB. And if you advertise it, people will come and watch it.
What was it like playing in front of those type of crowds? Because I can only speak from experience. Like up in Manchester, we don't get that many crowds. I know it's different area and different times, but it's not one of the things where when I set out playing, I never thought, do you know what, I want to play baseball in front of 50 people, 200 people, 1,000 people. But for you to be playing at that sort of level, I mean, you must have had like big crowds coming to watch at GB in the tournaments, but like 6,000 people, it just seems like such a fantastic.
It's a large amount. Yeah, it's weird because you get out on the field and you kind of forget. You just, because of concentrating on the actual game, you just don't realise that they're there, which is good, obviously, because you don't want to be dwelling on the fact that you've got that many people watching what you're doing. Going back to GB, and you was asking about sort of what my sort of good moments. There's one particular one I forgot. This was between the tournaments. I think it was about 83, and it was GB versus the United States Air Force. Yeah. And it was a rugby football ground, and I hit one out of the ground. Not grand slam. I think it was free base, but I hit it out of the park. Fortunately, left field was the short field.
Does it say like did it end up getting hit, like hitting a car or something outside, or did you ever get the ball back?
No idea where it went. I hit one to centre field as well, and it was literally obviously corner to corner, and only got to third base on it, which was annoying.
How weird was it then playing like baseball on a football pitch? Like, how did they work that out logistically with the dimensions?
Yeah, it's awkward. I mean, obviously, like when we played the rugby at the rugby ground, they did it the right way. So left field was the deepest and right field was short. There wasn't many left hitters, so it worked out all right. But the rugby football ground, they did it the opposite way, and left field was obviously quite short. They had stands, but basically it was probably only about 300 foot, if that, to where the seats were.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Yeah, obviously they just put temporary nets up and stuff, so it wasn't particularly very professional looking. But again, it is practice for GB squad, and it was different to have people come along and watch.
That's cool. Do you have any mementos from your time playing? Did you ever collect like balls or have particular like bats or something framed from like that France home run? Have you still got the bat, or are you not that sentimental when it comes down to you?
No, not really. I've got because obviously in Paris we came third place, so we've got a lovely bronze medal, which is quite nice size. That's still out there in the loft. The only thing I've really got that I've kept is a baseball which is signed by the GB squad, probably from about 1960 something, which my dad kept, and it was in one of them globe things to keep it all cold. It's faded a bit and gone a bit knackered, really, but it's still there. And I've got the original poster as well from Belgium when my dad played for GB, and that's all signed as well.
That's really cool.
I think that's on the Project Cobb website, the picture of that poster.
I'll have to root it out and maybe try and pop it up onto the video. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you saw a poster appear where Vince was talking, it means that I found it and it worked. And I'm really good at doing what I do. If not, better luck next time. I'll try and put it on Twitter. Yeah. Now, we've been chatting recently, and I'm saying this lovely Essex Redbacks top. You mentioned that the two teams have now merged, the Essex Arrows and the Essex Redbacks. What can you tell us about the merger and how that's come about?
Well, we've been friends with the Arrows for a really long time. We've had players come and go, go to the Arrows, come back, etc. And we've had a very good relationship with them for a very long time. We're good friends. They've been out to Holland with me a few times as well. It's been on the cards for a few years. We've been kind of batting the idea about, and we decided that it's going to be an advantage for us to be able to have some players move up and down. One of the problems we've kind of had is having a single A and a triple A team. The single A guys either don't want to jump up too far a level, or they're quite happy in their team because they've got teammates and stuff. So when we've had a weaker AAA, as in like less players, we've struggled to get anybody to come up and play for us because they just don't want to come up. So basically, their NBL side have also got a glut of players, and they possibly wanted to come down. Plus, they had some AA, and their AA was getting a little bit weak because they had less lack of players. So we've combined to make effectively 5 good teams and possibly 6 now. So we're getting mid-40s training at the moment, and I know there's quite a few players that still can't make it. So we're hoping to get 6 teams. That's amazing. So we are joining the likes of Hearts, which has obviously got quite a lot of teams, and obviously London.
That's really cool.
Announced they've got 9 teams apparently.
Crikey.
So it's good. Also, we think that we should have a bigger chance of getting more sponsorship because we are so big. It all kind of ties in, doesn't it? It's a bigger organisation. You're going to attract more attention. Yeah,
definitely. So are you still classed as 2 separate teams, and like the Arrows playing out of?
Well, no. So it is and it isn't. So we've obviously got the Arrows are going to be playing out of Waltham Abbey. AAA will split its home time, so we'll have some at Melville Park, but we'll also have some at Waltham Abbey, and the same with AA. They are going to split between it as well. So because obviously you've got guys that are at Waltham Abbey, they don't want to have a home game every time that they Barleylands or Chelmsford. So we've kind of said what we will do is work it out so we can just basically move where we want to. And obviously, if you've got scheduling issues, we've got more choice of grounds. So we've got three grounds now. So
brilliant. Nice.
It's going to work out pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned Holland a few times. Now, you play a regular tournament over in Holland. You have done for 30 years. Why is this such an important thing for you to do?
I think it's the friendships that you make. Initially, because I went to the first meet tournament, which is the Missing Ear European Tournament. The reason it's called that is because it's held in Newnan. Now, Newnan was the home of Vincent van Gogh for a little while. So that was the tie-in on that. The first time I went there was with Crawley Giants at the time. The second year I went was with Croydon, because obviously there's so many players that knew each other, and they made basically a team up of different teams. And from then on, once all that had sort of gone by and I'd been playing for Croydon and going over there with them a few times, eventually I started taking my own teams over there. So when we had the team at Witham, the Essex Eagles, and then obviously as soon as we got the Redbacks going, it was like, let's go and play baseball there. So yeah, it's such a fun tournament. It's a release. It's not. It's hard. I mean, there's some amazing players there, but it's fun. You know, there's quite a bit of drinking involved, and just enjoying yourself and not taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
Even though some of the Dutch, there's a couple of Dutch teams that were usually there, instructors and destructors. The instructors were the coaches, Dutch coaches. So obviously you can imagine they were pretty good. The destructors were basically all of the high-end Dutch national team players. So yeah, they usually won.
Yeah, I can imagine. They're not a bad team, the Dutch national team, are they?
No, pretty good.
Yeah, I can see the benefits of that apart from all the drinking. Like, but would you recommend that then for other clubs to do? Like, try and seek out a partnership with Dutch teams, with like the standard of baseball that they've got. How am I trying to say this? Like, would you recommend like teams trying to reach out to some of the better leagues and teams in Europe to try and have these sort of tournaments, or maybe like grouping
there is
together,
a few already. Yeah, there's definitely a few already doing that. Oxford Kings, they go to Turin once a year, and I know the Turin guys because they actually come to the meet tournament as well. So it's quite it's almost like a family. And the level of baseball there is really good. The Arrows are big going to Spain, so they're playing in a really high quality tournament there. I know there's been some teams that have gone to La Rochelle in France.
Mm-hmm.
The diamond there is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that was built by an ex-English guy. He's out there, Julian Dogwell. So he played for GB. He moved out there, started the baseball up, and he's built this amazing little stadium. So
wow.
Yeah. So there is other teams already doing it. Even meet tournament. You know, Bournemouth have been there. The Arrows have been there. So yeah. Definitely. I think the Irish team went there once as well.
Huh. Fascinating.
I know they kept Robbie up one night because they were in their tent singing to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Awesome. Who are some of the best players you've actually seen play live?
I've got a list of people that I always classed as like some of the top players that I had a really good rapport with and respect. Marty Dewar, so he was with Crawley. He was just one of those charismatic guys that he could pitch, he could play anywhere. He pitched really well and he caught really well. And we had some battles between the pair of us. And the same goes for Cody Kane. He was one of the pitchers that I had a lot of respect for because he was just quick. He had so much junk and just scared you at times the way through. Again, exactly the same thing. We had masses of battles. Massa, I can't remember his last name, I've never pronounced it. So he was Oxford Kings.
Yeah.
One of those typical Japanese guys that was full of grace, full of love. Whenever we met, it was always like you met a brother again you haven't seen him for a while. Alan Bloomfield, obviously. I had a lot of respect for him as a younger player. I knew what he was capable of. I obviously see him play quite often when he was playing for Sutton, and everything he did was just good. He was just all round, probably one of the best players in England. Don McDonald, Canadian. He pitched to me when I was catching for Croydon. Again, he had such velocity, it was just scary. And one last guy, a guy that nobody would ever know of in the UK. So his guy was called Eric Kennis, and he was Belgian, and he played for Thames Ball Bills for 2 seasons. He's the only person that's ever scared me, like warming up, throwing.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone throw as hard as him, ever. Right. I'm sure it used to be upper 90s, just warming up. and he was a catcher. So when I used to pitch, he was the catcher. And even as a youngster, I could throw pretty hard. I think I was upper 80s. He used to throw it back to me from his knees faster than I threw it to him. It was just ridiculous. So my dad said to him one day, he said, I think you should pitch. And he was like, no, I can't pitch. So he said, no. He said, you've got this amazing arm. You need to be on the mound. So he went on the mound and I went catching for him, and it was laughable. He literally couldn't throw it more than 50 miles an hour. I don't know why. He didn't have the mechanics. I have no idea. So we jokingly said, go on your knees on the plate, on the pitcher's plate, and throw. And he threw it about 90 miles an hour. Such a weird thing. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Shane, that would have been funny to see.
Oh, God, yeah. But yeah, he was just ridiculous speed.
That's brilliant. So now here comes the hard question. Who would make your Mount Rushmore of British baseball people? So 4 individuals that mean the world to you from British baseball, and why?
Oh, God. Yeah, that is definitely one. To be fair, it has to be probably some of those guys from that list. I mean, if you're talking British guys only, that's
not just people from
one.
British baseball. Not just British. Yeah.
Okay, out of those, it would have to be Cody Kane, definitely. Just such a nice guy, amazing to play with, and he was a good adversary, very courteous, but played the game hard.
Yeah,
Marty Dewar, just because he was just an all-round nice guy, just could play every position again. I think Alan Bloomfield again, definitely, because of all the British players I've ever known, he was one of the best. And Massa, because of his camaraderie, whenever I saw him, it was just hugs and respect. Every time he pitched against me, every time I pitched against him, there was all that, well, you struck me out, and a little nod. It was just like, yeah, good.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, them are 4.
Lovely. Couple of last questions for me. What's of all your time with being involved in British baseball, what's the funniest thing you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So definitely, without a doubt, I've seen a guy set light to himself.
Set himself on fire?
Yes. So it was at Thames Ball Mills. And of course, in the earlier days, a lot of people smoked. And the guy slid into second base with a box of Swan Vestas in his back pocket. So the guy was running around trying to take his pants off with the flames bursting out the back of his bum. Literally, it's just, you think it's quite dangerous, but we were just wetting ourselves.
Crikey. Oh, well, I'd like to say you probably won't see that again nowadays with people vaping, no. But I won't be surprised. Christ, that's funny. So the last 2 now from me. What has baseball given you, and what are you grateful to the game for?
Obviously a sense of pride, because playing for GB, to represent your country is obviously and one of those ultimate things. Keep me fit, if anything. If you don't play sport, you don't keep fit, etc. So yeah, and obviously I've made a huge amount of friends. It's one of those. It's a big community, really. Every time you go to Farnham and you see team after team, and everybody knows each other, and that's obviously really good.
Yeah, I'm finding that out. Like we said before, I hit record. Like this going from getting to know people to now a historical documentation thing happened so quick, because I just realized that I'm the only person who doesn't know anybody in the game, and everybody knows everybody.
Of course. Well, there's some interesting stuff coming up at Farnham this year, so
some more tournaments coming up. Yes, indeed.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's good to know that that's happening.
Definitely, yeah. I think more tournaments, the better. Like an FA Cup style thing would be really interesting. But I suppose it's just the logistics of getting people to here, there, and everywhere. Yeah,
it is. I mean, obviously Croydon, not Croydon. Croydon. They're is it Croydon? I can't remember now. They've got London tournament come back again.
Cool. Exciting times.
It is, yeah. There's a lot going on. seems to be this year. It seems to be a little bit more excitement. I don't know why. It just seems like things are happening.
Yeah.
Hopefully the BBF are improving themselves now with all the new guys we've got in place. There seems to be a lot of commitment into getting baseball back up and running, and gelling all the leagues together as well, which would be nice. You know, we need the northern leagues to come back to us and all be one family again. We can have, you know, inter-area tournaments and north-south, etc.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
Watch this space. Watch this space. Finally, last one for me. If you had one wish for British baseball, what would it be?
For youth to be in schools, youth baseball in schools.
Yeah,
definitely.
How do you think we can go about doing that as a community?
The more exposure, the better. I mean, obviously, the problem we have in this country, obviously, is the size of the diamond. You know, it shouldn't be so much of a bigger issue with the kids, you know, because it is a smaller diamond. But, you know, having baseball grounds all over the place is just like impossible. We struggle as it is with councils to give us space. But yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. And also the problem with the schools is their curriculum. That's it. They're kind of closed off. You know, it's football, it's rugby, it's hockey, and cricket, and that's, you know, you get the odd here and there of different sports, but it's rare.
I thought they could be interesting to see like a scout troop involved in it and have like inter competition between different scout factions within local areas. Like someone somewhere must have a field they can do, or even just like doing t-ball or something with them, just to try and get interest and see if you could use that. Like if you're struggling to get like a youth team set up, like try and start something. I don't know. It's just I'm just a guy with 3 years worth of baseball experience talking out my ass, and people are like, "Yeah, we've tried all this before."
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously done trials, well, taster sessions in schools before, and even the specialist sports schools. And you get kids come along, they're all really interested in it, and you think, right, okay, this is good. You know, we're going to get some interaction with this, and it's rare. Most of the, especially if it's a dedicated sports school, they're concentrating on the sports that they are there for, and the parents are going, no, I want little Johnny to be a cricket star or a football star.
Yeah,
and they're not interested.
Yeah,
we had one kid turned up. He started throwing, and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, you know, this guy's 12 years old and he's throwing rockets. So I walked over and said, okay, where have you played baseball before? He said, I'm South African. He said, I played loads of baseball. I said, oh, right, okay, you know, are you interested in playing youth baseball? You'd be, no, he said, I can't, got to do cricket. And that's it. It's like, we want people like that because they're amazing. Start off with, they've had all experience already. No, it's not happening. But we'll keep plodding along. We'll keep getting youth to, you know, we're doing all right. We've got quite a lot of youth at the moment. So again, that breeds, because obviously you've got their mates, you know, like you're saying, at school, you know, nowadays everyone's talking to each other on phones and stuff, and you know, it spreads via Facebook and God knows what. So look at me in my baseball gear, look at me in my hat.
Yeah. So whenever hopefully I take Litland to train, like he goes bouldering, does climbing lessons on a Tuesday. 99 times out of 100, he's wearing his Manchester baseball t-shirt just to try and spark that conversation, and just let people see that sort of stuff's out there as an option. Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah. I it's crazy though. Like I don't know if it's me because I love the sport so much. Maybe it'd be different as a bit of an outsider, but just seeing him with his little like group of friends at baseball, it's completely different to his mates at school. And just seeing the fun that they have out there in the baseball field, even if they're not listening or doing as they're told, they've got a ball in the hand and they're doing the motions. Like he even throws his socks into the wash basket in a pitching motion. I don't know, I love seeing it. It just brings like a smile to my face. And I'm just happy that he's happy playing sport. Hope it keep going, you know? Yeah. It'd be one of those son-dad relationship with baseball that we've been going through for years. Yeah. Because Alan Bloomfield was the same. His dad was Art Bloomfield, and he's played. Yeah, definitely. And your good self. And Steve Simmons, George Simmons. So yeah, lots of that. Yeah. Well, actually, Oscar, he played for Thames Board Mills. Did he?
So that's it's the first English team he played for. So he lived literally up the road from the Thames Ball Mills ground.
Yeah.
And obviously I knew Bradley when he was born. Yeah. Bless him.
Yeah, he's had a great journey, hasn't he?
Oh, he has, yeah. Yeah, I haven't spoken to Oscar for literally 20 years. I'd love to know if he's all right, actually. Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Right, that brings us to the end of the podcast. Vince, it's tradition on the show for the guests to get the final say, so the floor is all yours.
Well, yeah, obviously, all my guys at the Redbacks, we're doing so well. We're keeping our baseball growing. Obviously, Steve Simmons, even though he didn't mention me, just saying. He's took over the management role for me to give me a bit of a break, which is quite nice. So obviously, being the chairman, I've got quite a bit to do, and with family life, etc.
Yeah.
And to all my friends in Holland, basically, I shall keep going as long as I can.
Right. Well, cool. I can't wait to see what the season brings for you. All the best of luck for the 2023 season. I'm sure I'll be updated on the scores as the season progresses.
Yeah. And hopefully we bump into each other, hopefully at Farnham. You never know.
Right, yeah. I'll get the Capri Suns in.
Yep. Excellent stuff.
Great stuff. Vin, this has been brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Really appreciate it. And thanks for sharing so many great stories. And there you go. Vincent Warner. All the best.
Cheers, Matt.
Take care, mate.
Take care.